Okay, I'm not great at video making, so please bear with me, and don't mind how long this video shows. I've got a lot of good observations to share with you. Number one, this is Fiddler's Point, and you can see how far back that water goes. Now, I'm no higher than about 6 feet off the water. I filmed from a couple locations, and I will link a video to this that does show approximately where I'm standing. But a lot of times you cannot see these areas. On days of good visibility, I always see a lot farther. Now, I've sped some of this up, and let's see, right in here, hang on a minute, I gotta get my paperwork out. Okay, this is Bill Watts Rack, and it's 3.59 miles from my location. And each time I speed this up, it's 4 times the speed. And I did that just so I could save you from having to watch this whole video. This is Billy Steele's rack, and it is 7.73 miles away from my location. And you can pretty much see it perfectly in the video. It's a little distorted, but that's pretty much sitting in the water, and you got to think how small it will look at 7.73 miles. Now, you can never get past this what I call the mirage line. At one point or another, no matter what time of the day that it is, you will get a mirage line. Either it will be closer and more noticeable, or farther away and less noticeable. Now, if you notice Cutter's Rock here, that's at 11.05 miles, and I will focus it in a little bit better. As I'm going through these videos, I am trying to use my manual focus. Some I did not. I tried different settings to get better visuals, but sometimes I don't. Now, I'm not writing this, what I'm talking right now, what I'm saying, it's not written down, because I just, I try to wing most of my stuff. But I want to talk about some of the things that it just isn't one effect that causes these. It's multiple effects, and sometimes it's a combination of effects. And you've got, your light, your angular resolution, your convergence point. You got lensing that's out there, which is like magnifying due to the water that's in the air. Now, here I speed up. Again, this is 4 times the speed. And what I was talking about was you have a convergence that's always out there on the horizon. And, horizon is actually horizontal. And when you look at just the word sea level alone, it tells you a lot. Now, if you look at this boat, you can see the weight that this boat's creating, and you can see the light shining off of this boat. Now, I'm following this boat along, and I'm saying to myself, wow, this boat's quite a ways out there, and it came out of Hernando Beach. Most all these shrimp boats, crab boats, they come out of Hernando Beach. Some come from down in Hudson, which those are usually really, really hard to see unless I have a really good day of visibility, which I have caught some. Now, I speed it back up again, and again, I'm tracking this boat. I'm going along, doodly-doodly-doo, and I know that this boat is out well over 3 miles away from me as it is right now. It could be 5. And then I come across this boat, and I say, oh my goodness gracious, look at the size of this boat. It's even got its outriggers out. The boat right there, the bigger boats, probably a crab boat. Those are usually bigger ones. And this is a shrimp boat because he's got his riggers out for his nets for collecting the shrimp. So, yeah, I say, how in the world am I seeing this boat? Where's the curve? And I've got some observations that I do that I've got that the boat actually, literally, it just gets so small that you cannot see it. Now, one of the things that I want to bring up about that littler boat is you can see how compressed it is. Now, I did lose some of my focus, and as you can see, I'm kind of like looking into the sun. So I'm also concentrating on following this boat. So I'm not really paying as much attention to my focus as I should be, as you can tell, because I'm not focusing it in. There I go. I focus it in. And then I slow it back down here so you can actually see the reflection off the boat, and I zoom out so you can get an idea how far out that this boat is and where the sun is and how that light just blinds me. I mean, I definitely cannot see this boat with my naked eyes. I mean, there's no way that I could see this boat with my naked eye. And most of the time, we think that the boat went over the curve. Now, I never saw this boat to begin with when I first picked it up with my naked eye, let alone, you know, it should have been already over the curve. Now, there is Bayport, and Bayport's bird rack is 3.59, 3.58 miles away from my location. And again, here I follow this boat along, and I come across the North Rack. The North Rack is approximately 8.09 miles away, and you can see that that boat is not far from that rack. It's really not that far from the rack, because you got to think about how tall that boat is. Because most of these racks are about 15 feet, so you see that the top of that boat was pretty close to the top of that rack. Actually, it was higher, but I've seen this boat many, many times when I'm going fishing and coming out of Hernando Beach Channel where I go fishing at. But it tells me that that boat's anywhere between 15 feet high, maybe 12, but it's about 15 feet high off the water. Now I go back to, I go back and I say, well, let me try to find that little boat again. And when I go back, if you notice how it's compressed, how it's smashed and stretched, that's one of the effects of, you know, the illusion that we get when we're looking out there. Now, somebody might, you know, a Glover's going to say, well, this is refraction. It's pulling it up over the curvature. Come on, man. That boat is well over. I mean, if you look at the, just the North Rack alone, that boat is well over 8 miles away. I mean, that boat's probably 10 to 15 miles away, in my opinion. Only because of the fact that not only am I familiar with this water, I am an avid fisherman, and I've been fishing these same waters for 10 or for 25 years, and I'm very familiar with from Bayport to Hudson Beach, from Bayport northward to Chassahowiska, which is another place that I'll be soon filming toward that direction because I found a new place to dwell. It's a place called Pine Island. So I'll be doing some filming from there. But I don't know if I'm going to be sharing a lot of my footage. I mean, look at these other boats that go by too. And, you know, I put these out for people to study. You know, we found, me and Taboo, well, actually Taboo did a great job. He found all the local coordinates for all these bird racks, and then I gave him my GPS location where I'm located at when I'm doing a lot of the filming. Now, I do film in a couple different spots, but they're pretty much right there at the Bayport Park. Fishing pier, there's a seawall there, or there's another part of the park where you can get right down by the water, and a lot of times I like to get right down by the water. But just recently, they posted that off, and they don't want you down there. But, you know, again, let's go back to this boat. Look how compressed this boat is, and look how small this boat is. Now again, this footage here is sped up 4 times the speed. So, you know, if somebody wanted to slow it down, but look at how it's just getting so compressed, it's just getting mashed into the water. Now too, I'm surprised I was able to find this boat again and follow it due to the fact that I've got this small LCD screen that I'm looking at. So it's really hard to track these when they get this small. I mean, I've almost got my face up next to the camera, and then I'm trying to track it on top of it. On my tripod, I do have a tracker. It's called a pan head. It pans up and down 15 degrees up, 15 degrees down, and it does a 360 degree. Now, some of these other boats are passing that smaller boat. So what I did was I slowed it down right here back to normal speed. So you can see the size of this boat go by, the Bayport bird rack, and he's well beyond it too. That boat's probably from the water up to the top of its cab, it's probably about 12 feet there on that boat. These aren't, these shrimp boats and these crab boats aren't tiny little boats. Now, right there, I had slowed it down, and then I thought I lost it, so I went on to another video. Now, here's Bayport bird rack again, different day, different kind of circumstances. We got a brighter sky, more sun out there, +2. You can see how this boat is sitting in the water, and if you looked at the very beginning, you can see he's got a rope tied to the rack. So I know he's just right behind that rack tied up to it. And look at the mirroring underneath, how that reacts, that miraging, that mirroring. Same way with at the very bottom. There's 7 horizontal slats that go across here. And then you see that bottom board, it looks like it's blending into its own reflection, which it actually is. And then this footage right here, I just pointed my camera at the Bayport bird rack, and I said, look at there. Look at how that mirroring is, how that miraging is. And again, I'm not great at video making, so I just try my best. But right where I had the arrow is where the water actually is. And anything below that is just the water just mirroring the sky. And that's something too on this next video. Oh, remember this branch right here. This is an old tree that broke down during a storm. And here it is again. And you can see how that water line changed a little bit. But what I want you to do is look at the background. Look at the mirroring of the sky and the clouds. How they're just mirrored. This is miraging at its best. And what this miraging does, now, here's about where I think that rack is setting at, actually in the water. And then, you know, you see the boat. It looks like it's cut off. It looks like he's over the curvature of Earth. That's what a globe believer would tell you. Is he's over the curvature of Earth. And that arrow is supposed to be pointing at the boat. I don't know how it got off a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it. You got the idea. Now, it's not over the curvature of Earth. This boat is just, he's sitting out there. And because of the miraging, what the miraging does is it causes a ramp effect. And it causes, it's like putting a mirror on an angle, let's just say 2 degrees. In some cases, it's even more, depending on how bad the miraging is that day. But let's just say 2 degrees. So actually, it's reflecting everything upward. But it's like a liquid mirror. It's like mercury. Okay, think of mercury, and this boat is actually sitting in the mercury. And, you know, maybe some other channel will try something with some mercury. But I recently did a video with a mirage and showed how, you know, things will disappear within that mirage right in front of your face. Now, look at this boat when it gets up on plane. The word plane. When it gets up on plane, you can literally start seeing the whole boat in the water. There's my arrow again. It's a little high. Let me fix that. Okay, I fixed that one. But you can, I mean, I shouldn't even have to put arrows here. But what I find is a lot of times people that watch my videos, they're not paying attention to detail. And that's one of the things that I do. When I watch one of my videos, a lot of times I will watch it several times. I will even put the whole video in slow motion and watch it in slow motion and pick up all the details that I can from it and try to learn. Now watch, he shuts his boat down and look how he sinks back into that mirror, into that mirage. He literally sinks into it. So it's the mirage that causes the illusion of a curve. And look at that bird, how that bird dipped down. I mean, right to the point of almost disappearing in the water. Um, and that's one thing too. You can see on some of my other videos how that I've posted how the birds will be flying along and they disappear and reappear, disappear and reappear. Come on, even the glow believers should question what they're looking at because you know life can be an illusion, and the illusion is that they gave you is that you live on this spinning globe. And to me, I've spent 2.5 years of trying to find this curve. And actually, when my first video that I did, I thought I found it, but what happened was I realized that there was actually something going on, and it was called mirage. And the word mirage derives from the word mirror. Look it up in the dictionary. You'll see that it is actually just a mirror image. So everything below this boat, and even a lot of what behind it, is just being mirrored. Think about two parallel lines, and that's something too I'll bring up again here later on. Think about the two parallel lines. If you're standing on the bottom line and you got, say, a line above your head, say you got a rope that you're standing on and a rope, say 30-40 feet above your head, and those go out parallel from you, because you're on the bottom line, you're going to see less of the floor, which of course the one that you're standing on would be considered the floor, than you are going to be seeing the one above you. You're going to see more of the one above you. So the one above you is going to look like it comes down, right? It's going to appear to come down and meet the one on the floor, depending on how long your line is. Now, we're talking miles and miles and miles. Now, you can't think that these clouds are 3.1 miles away from you. They're not. Those clouds are way, way farther. And that's because your floor is being compressed. Just like in the one video I did with the board, I showed you the board. The only way to see the whole board is to be above it, looking directly down on it. And then when I laid the board down, the surface of the board became a sliver. Okay, look at the visible water blending into the mirror right here. You can see how it blends right in. You see the little sparklies, and you know it's all blending right into the ceiling. It's it's a mirror, people, and that mirror is called a mirage, and they fooled you with the mirage. Does refraction happen? Yes, refraction does happen. I just recently watched this spear fishing, and the guy shows you how he sticks the spear out in the water and how the spear bends upward. But then he mentions as you stretch out farther, the farther that fish is away from you, it's less of a bend. Now, most of these fish are in the water, and they're not above the water. So just imagine if the fish was sitting right on top of the water, you would not have to worry about that refraction bending up. You would more worry about hitting the fish right on the target. Now, what if that mirror or that fish was up in that mirage? Well, would you have to aim at it, or would you have to aim below it, or would you have to aim above it? I'd say that you'd have to aim above it. So that way you can account for your droppage, because it pulls it down. It would be pulling it down, not up. It would be the opposite of what that spear fisherman was explaining. And if I remember, I will put a link to that video too in the description. Now, you know, you're watching these videos, and it's really funny because I think my whole time got off on this thing, so my sound might not match up. Now here's that branch again, or that tree that was out there during a storm, and I think there's something I want to bring up here. I think there's a point here where there's a midway marker between me, or it's like the halfway marker from Bayport to the Bayport uh, beacon light, or the Bayport bird rack. And that midway point, a lot of times, is where I get, or I see the mirage start at. Um, and that's something that I always say, hey, the curve doesn't start there, does it? You know, because right here, this is the halfway point, and you can see that it's actually sitting in the water. But in some of my videos, it's actually floating above the visible water line. Um, now, this one is a boat that I caught way out there. It's way out there. And I put in here, let it catch up. I guess my video is behind, or the video is behind. Fathom Agoura. Is this one, or is it just a stretched out boat? Because that boat's so far back that it's getting stretched out. And I think it's just a mirror image of the boat underneath just being stretched out. And I'll tell you why. Well, as you watch it, I'm going to put this in fast motion. Okay, I go 5 times the speed on this because I want to show you what it does. Because this boat is literally coming toward me, or it's coming closer to the shoreline, I should say. And as it does, you can see how it starts going, blending into its own reflection is what it does. Just like the horizon does. When the sun sets, you think it's setting, but it's actually just converging to a convergence point. And that convergence point, and I have a suspicion on that myself, and I'll bring that up here in a second. Here it goes, it's blending into itself. And I slow it back down to show you what it looks like. Now, a lot of times I get boats out there that just look like blobs. Why? Because they're just getting distorted. Heat distortion. Is it from how far away it is? Now I sped it back up 5 times the speed again. And this time it's going another direction. You see the other boat it goes past. And all the time that this boat is moving, it is above the visible water plane. But it is in water. You can actually start seeing it kind of throw out a little bit of its wake behind the boat. Right there you can kind of see it. And here's another interesting part to a video. I zoomed in out here to Bayport Bird Rack again. Again, Bayport Bird Rack is 3.59 miles away. And you can see again right here how the water, you can see it rising up there. Once it gets above a certain point, angular resolution, the camera can resolve it. 10 times the speed on this one. I started speeding them up so I could shorten the video. Unfortunately, it is still long, but bear with me, people. I really do think that even Globers should be watching this and having some questions themselves. And I don't mind answering any questions, but the last thing I'm going to do is answer a question where somebody's being snobbish, rude, obnoxious, vulgar language, or just plain out call me a flat tard. again, I've got some subscribers or some people that are Glovers that watch my videos, and they do have some good questions. And like I said, I don't mind answering them when I can and if I can. I don't have the answers to everything. I am not the encyclopedia. Can I be wrong on some things? Yes. But I don't think I'm wrong about this miraging and refraction, how once you get above the surface of water, it's not refracting down or upward. It's not pulling anything up above the curve. If anything, it's getting compressed, mashed, squashed. And you could even watch some of the birds in that too as they were flying, how they just disappear into the water. Um, but they're just actually disappearing into the mirror. Excuse me. Watch also its reflection kind of start vanishing too. That's something else I noticed in this. And when you see the transitions are the end of one video going into another video. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. And then I sped it up again 10 times the speed. Um, but again, watch that reflection that's under the visible water. And you got a little section there that's nice and calm to where you're getting that reflection occurring. And then it kind of disappears. And I was saying that there's multiple things happening in combination with each other. You know, where you got your density of the air. Now this is something too that you'll notice in this is watch how the air starts getting dense here, and it almost starts looking like it's going to fade away. And that's what happens when you get a lot of light on an object too. You put a lot of light on it, and you cannot see it. It vanishes within that light. You know, you've seen that in movies where they showed you a guy walking into a well-lit room. He opens the door, it's a bright light, and he walks in and he vanishes into that light. Well, it's the same thing sometimes with boats. They'll get out so far, get so distorted, and then they'll just vanish within that light or that brightness of that. Now, here was an interesting video, too. Now, I'll be truthful with you. I was at Bayport. It had been raining when I got there. So I actually took my my tripod and I set it up on top of the picnic table that was there. So yes, my camera was a few feet higher than normal. But check this out. You know, I think it's pretty cool that, you know, you see these layers of water going out. It's a fairly calm day. Even though we had the wind or a little bit of a breeze, you can see that little breeze out there roughing the water up. But then you got the calm spots, the rough spots, and in these calm spots, you can even look in that water just below the boat, and you see the boat's reflection. I think that's really, really interesting when you take that into consideration. I'm talking right over the audio in this portion. I forgot to delete it out. I wanted to leave some of the audio in so you could hear the wind and, you know, some of the things in the background, but I found some of it was kind of distracting. This portion right here, you just hear some birds chirping, me hack a little bit there. But it's really interesting when you look up here and you see this boat, and he looks like he's out there in the shade. But again, you wonder why you can't see around the world. Well, you cannot see through this haze. And like I said, this is from July, so it's hot, humid in Florida here, and all this video is taken in Florida. But look how much farther back that boat is. And I mean, that's a flat boat right there, and the other boat is a big boat. Well, it's probably bigger than this flat boat. Put it to you that way. Might not be a lot bigger, but it is a bigger boat. And I zoom back and I show you that I see I am underneath one of these overhangs, and you can see the ceiling. That's because I got the tripod sitting on top of the picnic table. Now it's sitting up there, but it's only about eye level, so it's not much different than me standing out on the seawall. So I'm not that much higher. Like I said, I'm not that much higher at all. Okay, I left a little bit of audio on that. And you've seen that to the left right here. Let me see if I can pick it out. The boat on the left, right behind it, that's at midway point to the Bayport bird rack. And look at, this was a rainy day. You can even see it raining in front of me in the water that's at the bottom of the screen. I could see that boat with the lights on it from way out there. I wasn't even going to get my camera out this day because I said, man, I didn't want to drag my camera out in the rain. But I said, well, there is an overhang on the picnic table. So, again, that's why I had my camera sitting on the picnic table. These picnic tables have a little overhang, a little roof over them. So you can stay a little dry. But the wind did pick up a little bit. And it was blowing the water on my camera lens a little bit, so I had to lift it up and put it above it, up on top of it. Yeah, I wanted to say that, my observations aren't for just watching, looking at, and saying, oh, wow, they are meant for studying. Anybody that really wants to do some research, and they don't have a camera to go out and do these types of observations, my channel is a good channel for visual observations. And you can see there's the Bayport bird rack, and you can see how these boats are just blobs in the background. And again, I sped this up like 10 times the speed to give you a good idea, or to cut the video short. Yeah, you can't see through that stuff right there. There's just no way. So you're not going to be able to see New York City from, across the bay. But just check this out. Again, this is Florida. It's raining. It's July. And it is hot. This may have been June. I'm almost positive it's July, though. 'Cause I think it's the 18th. Yeah, this was July 18th. And then look at the clouds, how they look like they shrink, go to the bottom. That's your convergence. That's your ceiling. That's your roof to your house. And the water is your floor. So again, you could slow some of this down in your YouTube settings if you want to watch it slower. But if I had more people, watching my videos, more views, I would probably post a lot more of my observations, but they would be long because, again, I would just post a big long video, and whoever wanted to spend the time watching it can watch it and look at it and learn from them. Other than that, I won't waste my time because these are really hard for me to do. I spend a lot of time doing them unless I just put them out there raw, because it does take a lot of time. Now that's Bill Watts' rack. All right, I wanted to do this. This isn't my best sunset video, but it's close enough for what I wanted to show afterward. I was hand-holding my camera, and another reason why, again, this was a rainy day, and it was really hazy out there on the horizontal plane. And you can see this convergence point. But again, here's your sky meeting your floor. Again, it's going to look like it curves down to meet your floor, and your floor is going to come up to eye level. And where's eye level? It isn't the water line, because if you take your camera and you put I mean, and the P900 is a good one, you can put a level on it, and you can see if you're pointing down or pointing up. And if you point down at the visible water, you will be pointing down. You will obviously see that you're pointing down. If you point it up to this convergence point, and I'm gonna take a screenshot here and show you where I particularly my opinion of where your horizon line actually is, or the convergence point, because your horizon and your sky never meet, just like two parallel lines never meet. They will always stay parallel from each other. Right here, I'm going to take a screenshot, and I'm going to point out that's about where I think the convergence point is. And there's another thing. You get into, your Egyptian mythology and everything. And these people were controlling other people. Big time were controlling them. And right now, you got to think of the Eye of Horus. Also, look at the center of that, in the convergence point there. You see the boat going through the sun. Now, again, my camera is definitely not level. I'm all cockeyed sitting on this picnic table. I actually almost broke my butt getting on it. I went up there and it was slippery, and I slipped a little bit, but thank God I didn't fall and bust my camera. And then, of course, what do we have here? We have the vanishing point. And again, here's the sky meeting the floor. I took a picture. This is another screenshot, but I wanted to just show how the floor comes up to eye level, and your ceiling, your sky, your clouds come down to eye level. Even though they're much higher, they will always appear to come down, which will create what I call a dome, the dome effect. Now this next part is I took my mirror, I made this concave convex mirror. I sat it out in my driveway, and what I wanted to do is see if I couldn't get the sun to converge, or to do what I see it do on the horizon. But again, you got to remember that you're at ground level, so you will not see some of this bottom reflection. But even watch the clouds in this. It's pretty interesting how the clouds are doing exactly what that one part did, is they're mirroring themselves. And then, of course, we got everything. The sun's just going to converge in on its own reflection, and again, go to its vanishing point. I hope this video got you to think. Especially some of the Globers that may watch this, or the Globe believers that may watch this. I don't want to call anybody names, but please like, subscribe, and share.